Programa mula Lunes hanggang Linggo. Aalimin kayo ng aming kilalang mga komentarista at public service program. Ito lamang sa himpilan ng TWTL.
Good news of the kingdom. Welcome, everyone. This is Gary Miller bringing you the good news of what the Bible describes as the kingdom of heaven, a coming world government. Let's continue now with the study we began last week about the kingdom of heaven, the true gospel of the kingdom of Yahweh. I want you to turn to Revelation 20th chapter. When I said this kingdom is coming to the earth, it is. Revelation the 20th chapter, I want you to notice what it says here. Those who survive, those who make it into this kingdom, it says they're going to reign with this Joshua. Verse 4 says, and I saw thrones, and they that sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Joshua and for the word of Yahweh, and which did not or had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither received his mark upon their foreheads, or in their hands. They lived and reigned with the Messiah 1,000 years. They lived and reigned with him. So that tells us that they're going to be ruling with Joshua. Joshua is the king of kings. He will be installed at some later date. And those who make it into that kingdom are going to be living and reigning. Notice it says they lived and reigned with Joshua 1,000 years. So they're going to live at least 1,000 years. And so we look at that and think, well, this is a situation in which these people are qualifying for a leadership position in this government. This is the government that's coming to the earth to solve the world's problems. If you'll turn to Revelation, the 3rd chapter, you will see more information, 2nd chapter actually, verse 26 of the 2nd chapter. It tells us that this is going to be a matter of ruling and reigning on the earth. In verse 26 it says, and he that overcomes and keeps my works unto the end, the works. Now, isn't it interesting that we see this word works here? Because we are often told that there's no works involved in salvation, that we really don't have to do anything, we just have to believe. But James said, show me your faith, and I will show you my faith by my works. So works are involved. Anybody who is Joshua's follower is going to do the things which he did. Goes on to say, and I will and keep my works unto the end. To him will I give power over the nations. And he, those that overcome and keep his works to the very end, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. He's going to rule the nations of this earth. So this shows us that those who are reigning with Joshua for 1,000 years, this millennial government that's going to be set up in the not too distant future, they're going to have power over the nations. So that tells us where this ruling is going to be, where the reigning is going to be. It's going to be on the earth, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron. Now, why is that necessary? It is necessary because people are not going to submit willingly to this government, because this government will involve changes. It will involve a change in a system of the way things are done. It will involve a change in the laws that are used. And people, of course, are not readily open to change in many cases. So you're going to have to rule them with a rod of iron. It would be nice if it could be done some other way. But that's what it says, because of the intransigent nature of human beings not wanting to change, it's going to be necessary to do it by force. And we know, we've heard about different battles that are going to take place, such as the Battle of Armageddon and so on, which we will cover in detail later on. We know that there's going to be a struggle, a fight for world rulership, and this struggle is going to be won by Joshua, because we just read there in Revelation that they would fight the Lamb and he would overcome them. So he's going to win the battle of rulership, who rules the earth. He's going to win that battle, and he's going to install this government, and those who endure until the end and keep his works, they will have power over the nations, and they will rule them with a rod of iron. It goes on to say, as the vessels of a potter shall they be broken to shivers, even as I received of my Father. So he has the authority to delegate the authority to these people to rule and reign for 1,000 years over the nations, ruling with a rod of iron. So that's what this kingdom is about. It's about rulership. It's about bringing solutions to this world. And we now know who's going to be at the head. It's going to be Yahshua Messiah. That's why he came. He is a king. He will be a king. He's going to be installed and coronated at some future date. And those who make it into that kingdom will also be serving with him. And it is a serving situation. The king serves the people. People that make it into the kingdom will be serving people, helping people, finding solutions, revamping cities, looking at different ways to structure the highway program. Going to be solutions involved, so it's going to take a lot of work. And we're talking about a new age for the earth. This is not the Aquarian age or some other astrological age. This is the new age in which the earth is going to be a pristine place. It's sort of back to Eden in a sense, where the people are going to be happy, as it says in Isaiah, that they will beat their swords into plowshares. Something useful instead of something destructive. So man has to learn the right way. We're not born with knowledge of the right way. It's something we have to learn. So when we realize that the kingdom of Yahweh is for our good, that's why we know it is good news. So it is good news of what's going to come. Now, would it not be good news if there was no more sickness? If sicknesses could be healed divinely on a regular basis. Would it not be good news if there were no more war? Would it not be good news if we knew that taxes could never be more than 10%? Would it not be good news if we knew that people were going to cooperate and get along and you'll have peaceful neighborhoods, prosperous communities, and also that the harvest is going to be so great by the time it's ready to plant again, they're still harvesting the previous year's crop. Bumper crops unheard of in history. Would that not be good news? Would it not be good news if there were no more terrorist attacks, no more terrorist bombings, and no more upset weather like we're seeing today? We're seeing weather upset on an unprecedented scale, at least historically speaking. It hasn't been too long ago, I think it was 2004, that Florida had the worst hurricane season in 118 years. We are seeing an escalation in the problems that are occurring on a global basis in weather. It hasn't been but just a few weeks ago, although it didn't really hit the news because Katrina was center stage here, but 1.4 million Chinese were evacuated from the typhoon. 1.4 million. We've got roughly 3 million, I think, were asked to leave the Houston area. Of course, now they'll be going back because the eye of the hurricane did not hit in that area, and it went east. It was a Category 3 by the time it made land early this morning, as I understand. So we're going to see a change in the weather pattern, because the Bible does talk about the fact that when man sins, it creates problems for the earth. So once we get these situations set right, that is, we get lined up with a governmental structure, the laws in place, the statutes, civil, federal, state level statutes in place, where we have a government that runs by natural law, many of these problems are going to be corrected very quickly. Others will take longer to correct. You're always going to have pockets of resistance. As I mentioned, I read there in Revelation, second chapter there. You're going to have pockets of resistance, so it's going to be necessary to rule with a rod of iron for a while, until people realize that what is happening is for their good. Now, the problem is when Yahshua does come to set this government up, because of misinformation, people are going to be thinking that this is not for their good. And you know how people are. If people perceive that a change is not in their best interest, they will fight it absolutely to the death, whether it is or whether it is not. It's in the perception. So if they perceive it as not something that's good for them, they will resist it to the very end. So it's going to take some time, once this government is in place, in order for people to see that this really is for their benefit. Change is resisted. And as a general rule, the older we get, the more we resist that change. But often it's just change. It's not that change is bad, it's just that it's different. And we tend to resist what is different. But after this transition period where people are becoming accustomed to seeing the good results, the beneficial effects of the kingdom of Yahweh, then they will comply much better. Because it does take time. You know how any situation is. When you go into a new situation, it's that transition period where most mistakes are made, where most of the disruption is, where most of this dissatisfaction occurs. It's in the transition period. So once this transition period is over, things will run very smoothly because we will have for the first time, I guess for the first time since the kingdom of David and Solomon and the king's period was set up, we'll have for the first time in the history of the human race a government that's run by natural law. See, that's what everybody doesn't realize, and that's what we're seeking that maybe don't know it or perhaps don't understand that. We are seeking the right way to do things. We're seeking the good effects, but we don't know the good causes. We've lost our way in that regard. And the kingdom of Yahweh is going to bring us the knowledge of the correct causes or the causes that produce good effects. Now, really, for every action, there are consequences. The consequences can be to our good or to our ill, but every action produces a consequence. And what the human race has always been seeking, even scientifically, we seek for the natural laws because we want a certain effect. We want a certain consequence. Well, the government of Yahweh is going to have the answers to those questions. They're going to tell us it's going to be in place what the natural laws are that cause those good effects, that cause bumper crops, that cause good weather, that cause peace. It's all about peace, that causes happiness and good health. There are causes for those things. And without the knowledge of the kingdom, the knowledge that the kingdom is bringing to the earth, we can never have these things. Not for long. So it's very, very necessary. It's absolutely necessary. It's actually necessary for the survival of the human race itself that we have this knowledge. So let's turn to Matthew 24 because Joshua makes a statement here that's very, very important that we need to keep in mind because really what we need, like I said earlier, is we need something to save us from ourselves. Turn to Matthew, the 24th chapter, and verse 21. Let's go back to verse 20. Matthew 24, verse 20. Now, this is a pivotal prophetic chapter. Contains a lot of information. I won't get into all the details of all of it here, but it's a very pivotal chapter in the Bible that has a lot to do with prophecy. And this is Joshua answering the pressing questions of his day and the pressing questions of our day. Here's what it says. But pray ye that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day, which is interesting that he would make that statement, either on the Sabbath day, obviously when this takes place, and we're talking here about this great tribulation, the Sabbath day will still be recognized at least by him. It says, neither on the Sabbath day, verse 21, for then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever shall be. Now you think about that statement right there. Great tribulation such as was not since the beginning of the world. Join us next time as we continue this study. To contact us to request literature, visit our website at www.icyahweh.org. That's www.icyahweh.org. Or write me at ICY, Post Office Box 208, Pocahontas, Arkansas, 72455. That's ICY, Post Office Box 208, Pocahontas, Arkansas, 72455. Please mention the call letters of this station. Until next time, this is Gary Miller, and thank you for listening.
Mula sa top-rated music station ng dekada 80, ang WBL. Puli na naglilingkod sa inyo sa pamamagitan ng